Here's the story, Dave, as I'm sure it's hit your radar. The reason we're talking about it is that there is an article here in The Telegraph reporting on an NHS. The NHS says first cousin marriage is linked to stronger extended family support system and economic advantages, seemingly singing the praises of cousin marriage, of first cousin marriage. This is deep. There's a lot, Dave, under here on what's actually going on in the UK, including, if we're being direct and upfront, there is a rising tide of not just first cousin marriage in the UK, but the offshoot problems of that, birth defects, stillborn, all the related health problems in the UK. And to put a fine point on it, it is, if not exclusively, overwhelmingly happening with a Pakistani Muslim population in the UK. And it seems to everyone that what's happening is the UK is reverse engineering that into being okay and culturally acceptable.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Because I'm a professional, I wrote down one specific line that I wanted to get out to you before we begin, which is, don't marry your cousin, moron. And I think that really illustrates the broader point here, because we all know this. Will, you and I are about the same age. Like, that would be a running joke of the 80s, is like, don't marry your cousin. What happened? That guy, that's the guy at school who married his cousin. His parents are married. And like, it's just so extraordinary. But you're right. The part that is making people feel weird about this is the reverse engineering part. Because look, England, we already know, has had a major problem with these Pakistani rape gangs. And they have raped quite literally thousands of young, usually female, but sometimes male children in the UK. And then it was hidden by the UK authorities. Okay, so that's one version of the problem.
Yes.
Now the other version is these very same people, the same community of people, now are into marrying their cousins. And when you marry your first cousin for genetic reasons, you're gonna have all sort of genetic abnormalities. Now, you might say, okay, well, let them do that, right? They want to marry their cousins. Let that niche community do that, except for what you just brought up there, which is the reverse engineering part, where the government is suddenly saying, well, it's not that bad and might actually be okay. There is a huge problem with this in the UK. I would also tell you that when I was in the UK, I spoke at Oxford. I did an Oxford debate on free speech, which we won, which was a miracle because Oxford is no bastion of free speech anymore. But I sat next to a young Pakistani girl at dinner. They do a big dinner before you take part in one of those Oxford debates. And, she was in full traditional Muslim garb and everything. She was probably about 20 years old. She was a student there. And she told me, she obviously didn't know much about my political leanings, but she told me that her parents are first generation Pakistani immigrants into England, and that she has 5 siblings, and that they only vote on Free Palestine. So now think about the strange set of self-induced problems that the UK has. You bring in a group of people who then quite literally molest your children. You bring in a group of people who are inbreeding. You bring in a group of people who then, in this case, she was telling me that her whole family, the number one issue they vote on as new immigrants to the UK is to free Palestine, a place that never existed, 5,000 miles away. Like, there is a massive, massive set of problems here. And the problem, as you know, Will, there are just not enough good British men who are not drunk at the pub at 12 now to do anything about this.
Man, what a way to put that. That is drunk at the pub at noon, don't give a damn enough to save your own country. To your point, look, I grew up in a small town in Texas, dangerously close to the Oklahoma border. If you think I've been hard on Florida, wait till I get to Oklahoma. But we used to joke about people marrying their cousin, but I actually think Arkansas was the target of most of that. Joking about cousin marriage. The point on that is that, yeah, it happens in other places. Hell, the royals of Europe did it. The Habsburgs, they inbred so much that they physically deformed their faces. To this day, we talk about the Habsburg jaw. You can look it up online. What's the Habsburg look? But the point is, today, not in the 1500s, today you have a problem in the UK. And Josh Fermi on X posted, a 2002 study revealed that while Pakistani babies make up 4% of UK births, they account for 30% of birth defects. Okay, let's just hammer that in. 4% of total births, 30% of total birth defects. In 2013, a larger study found that 37% of babies with birth defects were from Pakistani first cousin marriages. That is 37 times the national average. That's not good. That's bad. And what does it say about science? The NHS. Well, this is the debate we have here at home as well. We all want to believe that you can trust science, doctors, right? Well, we've learned something over the last 5 years about the politicization of science and medicine. What does it say about them that they're going to now go back and go, okay, but this is actually okay. This is good.
Right. Well, what it basically says is that the institutions are generally not to be trusted, or at the very least, have a skeptical eye with them. One of the beautiful things that we have in this country right now is that since Bobby Kennedy has taken over HHS, they're looking at things a little bit differently. They're issuing guidelines instead of directives. They're talking about the vaccine schedules and all of these things. But I would say to the specific point about this particular community coming to the UK and doing these things, whether it's the rape gangs or the literal inbreeding. I think this says way more about the native population of the UK than it says about the Pakistani immigrants. They're doing what they did in the past. That just is what it is. Let's put that aside for a second.
And in their home country.
Right, that's what I mean. That's what they were doing there, and then they came to a new country. We like to think it was to make a better life for themselves, but seemingly too many of these immigrants come in and try to turn the host country into the country that they left. But I think this says way more about the native British population, the guy that is drunk at 12 o'clock in the pub. And the reason I use that example is I go to the UK probably once a year for the last 10 years. Every time I go, it is significantly worse. I don't know, Will, the last time you were in London, but that ain't London. It's not the London that you remember. Downton Abbey is long gone, and it's been taken over basically by rape gangs. Like, something is very wrong there, and the good people have not stepped up. There are a couple decent signs. There was the huge Tommy Robinson rally for the UK about a week and a half ago, so there are some good signs. But ultimately, if you just play this out, like you just game theory this thing, okay, so where are you guys at in 10 years? Where are you at in 20 years? Where are you at in 30 years? And the answer is something that most people don't really want to confront.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.